Ty Bartow, Anthony Hartwig in with another edition of Coach's Corner. This time we head to one of my favorite teams from the Portage County, the Garrettsville Garfield G-Men girls basketball team, headed by Coach Aaron Gilbert for another year. Coach, how are we doing today?
We're good. We're good. Glad to be back for another season.
Oh, I know, man, and you're about as Garrettsville Garfield as it gets there too with the G-Men and how you built that program up. What's practice has been look like? It's scrimmage season right now. What are you seeing from the team? What are some girls we got to get used to knowing? I think I can think of at least one in particular.
Yeah. We were, it's still early with everything. Pretty young. Got a nice group of freshmen that came out this year, so kind of added to our youth. I think we have 19 or 20 girls that came out this year, and 12 are freshmen and sophomores. So, pretty young group. Very athletic group from what I've noticed so far. Right now, it's just trying to, it's so early. You're just trying to kind of put the pieces in and see what everybody can do, what everybody's capable of doing. Coming off last year, we got a lot of people returning, actually pretty much the entire team returning. Took a lot of lumps, so hopefully we use that as motivation and something so we don't have a repeat. So
you brought up last year, and last year was a instance when you had a lot of players that it got thrown to the sharks. You had to kind of learn varsity on the fly because you lost so much senior talent the year before. So let's talk about kind of the lessons that you think were learned last year and some of the things that you expect growth in from all those returning players that have a year of varsity play under their belt.
Yeah, you look at usually, we've had several strong senior classes in a row. And then we go through last year and we really had to put some players out there that just weren't ready from day one, and it became a learning experience. And then about halfway through the season, you lose the only returning player you had. So not only are they learning, but then they got to relearn because somebody they had been accustomed to playing with Mandy goes down with ACL. So it was a lot of learning. Painful learning, and of course, people thought, well, it's, you've been up for so long, so now's the time to kick a dog when they're down. So, we're gonna pile on what we can. And so, those girls kind of felt the wrath of some of the teams of what we've had success with over the last couple of years. So I'm kind of hoping that still burns in them a little bit. I know it fires me up for it. But I look at kind of how we were this past season with soccer. In that the year before, a lot of similar situation, a lot of youth, a lot of inexperience. And I look at how much more competitive we were this last season. Yeah, it didn't necessarily turn into as many wins, but we were in more winnable games. And that's kind of what I'm hoping this year serves as a chance to put ourselves in opportunities in the fourth quarter to finish the job and to get some wins, as opposed to just trying to get through to get to the next game.
Well, we all know, and in the sport of basketball, to get your wins, you got to rely on your strengths too. We talk about team identity all the time? Does the identity of this team change at all from last year, returning as much as you do return in that starting lineup, or what is that identity you're looking for this team this year?
No, I really don't think. I think one of the cornerstones of the program has been, no matter who the opponent is, we're going to play as hard as we can. And I think that's no matter what girls we roll out there, that's the one thing we ask them to do. We know not everybody's at the same skill level, but if everybody's playing at that 90 to 100% of their skill set, then we've got a chance. And really last year, we competed as long as we could. For some teams, it was for 2 quarters. For some, it was 2.5. For some, it was 3. For some, it was 3.5. And then we would just didn't have that finishing power. So I'm hoping that this year, that we take that step to compete longer in each game, and then in the end, get some dubs.
Let's meet the team. Let's go through the roster. Shout out the players that are going to be featured in the Garfield team, the returning players, and maybe some new faces that we might see as well.
Yeah, we really returned the core 8 that saw quality minutes last year. With Mandy coming back off ACL, and then our 2 seniors with Colby and Juliana will definitely fill important roles. And we're going to be asking them to do a little bit more than what they were doing last year. And then we do have a pretty strong junior class that saw a lot of success as underclassmen, and now we're hoping that as juniors, kind of being back together with Mandy and Kaylin and Riley and Annie, that they all fill a very different part of what we're going to be asking them to do. And I think that's one of the things, when you have a season like we had last year, you do a lot of self-reflection. And I kind of look back at the season and I put a lot of it on my shoulders that I just didn't do as good of a job in the practices as identifying as early as I needed to strengths and weaknesses. And, I put some people in some positions that they just weren't ready for, kind of out of necessity, but also without maybe the proper instruction. So, I really did a lot of self-reflection in the off season of how can I be better? Had a little change up in the coaching staff. So that, kind of changes the dynamic of things as well. Brought one of our middle school coaches up to the high school level. And then, going back with the players, throwing in 2 sophomores that, again, as freshmen, were not ready for varsity basketball, but we had a need at the guard position, and we brought Charlie Hill and Kylie McMahon up for minutes later in the year. And again, hoping that those, kind of translate into, okay, I've been here before. Now I know how to handle it. Whereas last year, what was the Jared Allen comment about I didn't realize the lights were so bright or something like that in the playoffs. I kind of feel like that's kind of how we were is, people want to play varsity. Then they realize, oh my God, this is varsity. And it's a lot faster and tougher than what I initially thought it would be.
When you got a year of team playing though too, and having that chemistry, does the playbook, or I guess does the way you have them play, does that open up, or is it more refining and perfecting what you already do well?
It's the refining and perfecting. Like I said, I think I tried to do way too much with this group last year, trying to find what we're good at. I think as the year went on, especially late in the year, we found some things that we were a little bit more successful at. So it's definitely a refining and focusing. There's no reason to have 10 plays if you're only good at 2 of them. There's no reason to have 15 sets if you can only run 3 of them because nobody can remember them. So we really watered down and focused on it. People are going to know what we're going to do. It's not stupid. You're going to get the ball to Mandy. Okay. Now we've got the other people though that have the confidence, and she has the confidence in her teammates to say, hey, I can pass to this person. I know they're going to make a shot. I can pass to this person. Because I think that was a big thing last year is we just didn't really have confidence in each other. It's not even having the self-confidence, having confidence in each other that, oh, well, if I throw it to that person, things aren't going to happen. So I just got to go do it myself. And now I really feel as the year went on, and we completely bagged what we've done in the past in the summer. I completely flipped the script of anything I've ever done in the summer and tried something new. We'll see if it happens to work out this year. But I just didn't feel that what we had done in the past was going to be beneficial to this group. And I'm hoping what we did install this summer and what we did kind of do differently with them is gonna help us out. But like I said, when you go through what we did last year, that's an anomaly. That is definitely a self-reflection time. And everybody can say, well, you had a good run. Well, okay, but no, now it's time to get back to what we're supposed to do. And I really look at it, like I said, and say, there's a handful of games out there that I could have done a better job in managing them, and it could have turned out the other way. And then we're looking at a 500 season instead of the season that we had. And it's a good reminder in practice. One of the things I hope I know a lot of people might not be big fans of him, but if you're watching the College Game Day and you listen to any of the Nick Sabanisms out there, man's a genius. I don't care what you say. And you listen to how he approaches things and the details. And, that's one of the things that I've kind of reflected on is I got away from being detail oriented because I just kind of took some things for granted and what I had from a talent standpoint. So now it's focusing back on those details and really honing my coaching skills. 18 years is a long time to be in one place. And you kind of get into a rut. You kind of get into this is just how we do it. Well, sometimes you got to change. And a lot of times that changes for the better.
Coach, let's talk about the schedule. We'll start with the conference inside the MVAC grade tier. Just talk about what you expect out of it and some of the things that you think will go down in the MVAC. There are some coaching changes, of course, and how you expect to compete in the conference.
Yeah, I think 3 or 4 coaching changes in the league this year. On paper, Crestview is by far on a different level than everybody else. But then again, I don't think LeBray is all that far. I think Mandy's done a heck of a job with her group, kind of going through the lumps that we did 2 years ago, playing those young kids, getting experience. I would love to have the turnaround this year that she had last year. And then with new coaches, you just don't know what the new philosophies are going to be. You don't know what new players might show up because of previous regimes they might not have liked, and so they didn't want to play, but now they want to. And flipping out Campbell for Southeast didn't do anybody any favors, because that's at least in the Portage area, that's been a perennial powerhouse that's just going to have great athletic. And you saw how they came into the soccer tier and dominated that. It's just, it's there are no nights off. And now with the new format, with the Tuesday, Fridays, flipping halfway through the season, Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday, that's going to be something that's different too. Girls aren't used to playing on a Friday night. And so we're going to see how that kind of reflects everything. Is it going to draw attendance? I don't know. Parents still follow girls sports. Like, I don't think new people are going to show up because it's a Friday night. But it's just a little different experience for the players. But like I said, there's schedule wise in league, there's no nights off. Like, you have to bring it. And I do think that the majority of the league is capable of beating each other. I think it's going to be, you're going to have a very clear division, and then you're going to have a big mishmash of a bunch of teams that are just beating each other's brains out night in, night out.
Talk about a little bit of the non-conference schedule. I know the conference being as big as it is doesn't lend to many non-conference games, but I know you guys always like to test yourself in the non-conference. What are some you're excited about this year?
Opening up with Rootstown, who returns a good core of players off of a very successful season last year. Not necessarily the best way to start your season, but at least, like I said, you don't get better playing a bunch of teams that just pad your stats. I mean, if you want to do that, good for you. But in the end, you want to be ready for March run. Picked up Smithville this year, another perennial powerhouse out of Wayne County area. And of course, we'll go to South Range for a nice backyard tussle with Fischel. Finally got him to play us over there. I've been telling him for years, like, why don't we go over there and play you? And now we're actually going to do it. So that'll be fun. And then it's amazing too, when you have a year like you have, all the people that all of a sudden want to play you again. So we added a couple people back that we've played in the past that didn't want to play us for a couple of years, and now all of a sudden they want to play us again. So, kudos to you. Put you on a schedule, and we'll see how that shakes out. But had a neat experience with the team down the road from us with Crestwood. We're doing a boys-girls doubleheader at Hiram College, so that's kind of something fun and new. Been trying to get games at Hiram for 18 years, and finally in the 18th year we get one there, so that's a good thing. But I just think it's a great experience for the kids to be on a college campus and in that environment for a game.
Coach, it is normally way too early to talk about tournaments, but this year is a little different because we have expanded the divisions in basketball. So I want you to talk about what you think of expanding the divisions. How much do you think it might help a school like Garfield with the new division that you're in, and what you think about, 7 divisions now instead of 4?
You want the political version, or you want the coach version?
You have never given us the political version. So you give us the full Aaron Gilbert experience.
Personally, I get it, but I'm not a huge fan of it, especially for the end. I think they've ruined the Final Four experience for high school athletes by playing the semis in a neutral site and then only playing the championship games in Dayton. I think that just completely ruins what basketball is. Basketball has always been the sport that has the Final Four in a location, college down to high school. And I think they've just completely ruined that. I mean, Baldwin Wallace is a beautiful place. I don't know if they're going to use it. I don't want to play my state semifinal at Baldwin Wallace. I want to play it at Dayton. That's me. I'm old school. That's just kind of the way it is. The 7 divisions definitely changes some things. Looking at how things went out, I kind of think us staying in Division 5 got really interesting because a lot of the teams that have been blocking us and things like that over the years moved either up or down. I personally, in the area, I think Division 6 is a meat grinder, and as is Division 4. Do I think 5's easy? No, but I do think a lot of those teams have gone up or down, and it's really, really changed the landscape of the tournament. But I don't know. I liked the way that it was. I personally, for the girls, I would love them to move the state championship and final and semis back to St. John's. Nice environment, small, loud. They did. I went down last year to Dayton. Dayton's a beautiful place, but it's just it just doesn't have that mystique that Columbus has. But I do think the 7 definitely opens up some pathways for a lot of schools that didn't have that pathway. I look back at our run back in 2017, and the 2 teams we ran into in the regionals both moved up a division the next year. And I sit there and go, well, the 2 teams we had to play there, Gilmore and Ursuline, were both 2 the next year. If they're not there, then, we get a chance to go down there. So, it's one of the things you have every year. But yeah, I don't know, now with the max preps, with the RPI ratings and all that, with your doing your seedings, it changes how things are kind of shaped up for where you're going to be seated, but it also rewards you for playing that tougher schedule if you're able to get some wins in that on that schedule.
Coach, I know about your long tenure there with Garrettsville Garfield. I also know about your long tenure being a coach in the sport of basketball. You've taught countless numbers of young ladies to the sport of basketball. And that's kind of the theme question this year, too, is the teaching of the sport of basketball. But what I'm curious about is what's the biggest lesson the sport of basketball has taught you?
It's just I actually look back this past, I don't even know why my brain went here, but last Mother's Day, I was driving back home and I was looking at some stuff and I started thinking back. I'm like, I called my one assistant coach who played for me. And I said to her, I said, looking at some of the posts of, Happy Mother's Day stuff, I said, you realize we have like 12 or 14 girls now that are moms, former players that now have families of their own. And from a coaching standpoint, I think that's one of the things it's kind of like the coolest thing that I look back on is those relationships you've kept up with players. You see them developing and leading their families, being good moms, being good human beings. And then, when they come back to a practice or come back to a game with their kids, or even if they don't have kids and they come back, that's kind of the legacy, is having that. It's just unique. Even as a teacher, having kids come back to your class, it's just not a job that not a lot of other jobs get that satisfaction. And a lot of jobs you don't see your impact. And even players that might not have played very much for you come back and say, oh, I had such a good time. And they don't remember games. They just remember, hey, remember when you did this in practice? Remember when this happened in this game? But that's really, I think that's really kind of one of those legacy things that you look back and you just look back and you say, hey, look at what a good person those people have turned into.
Coach, you've been a part of many of these season previews. You know that we don't let them go without you talking about your staff and the people that are behind you making this program great from the middle school on up. So why don't you shout out your coaching staff this year in the program and the people that are behind you making it great?
Yeah, high school staff hasn't changed a whole lot. Andy Cardinal still helping me out, former varsity coach. Taylor Smith, like I said, former player. She's been on staff for several years now. And then Erica Jarvis comes to us. She was with the middle school, but she's got a lot of coaching experience, also playing at one of the former MVAC schools back in the day. She's got a lot of information and has definitely brought a different vibe to practices. And it's just, every now and then you just need that little influx of just, something's got to change, and that just happened to be the change. Middle school wise, that's always one of those positions wise we're still kind of finalizing positions as we get closer to the season. But Brett's going to do a great job with our 8th graders, and then 7th grade we're getting that all finalized and ready to go as things go on. I just it's coaching's not easy, and you got to get kudos to the people that do, because they're giving up a lot of time. They're not as obsessed with it as I am. But right now I'm just trying to get everything back together after I had off-season back surgery just a couple weeks ago. So I'm still trying to get back in the swing of things. So even the girls have been like, man, you're kind of calm. I'm like, well, I kind of can't yell a whole lot right now. So just wait a couple weeks. You're going to wish for this person back again. So just excited to, kind of see how things roll, and it just ready to get last year's taste out of my mouth personally.
Right.
So
Yeah. I got a chance to have Erica Jarvis coach my kid's softball team too. I love the type of brand of coaching she brings to the table too. So I think that's a nice addition for you as well, Coach. Well, within due time, both Anthony and I'm sure we'll see you out there on the hardwood here real soon too. I'm excited to see the growth from this G-Men team too, and what you continue to instill with this Lady G-Men team.
And we'll get some meatball subs out of South Range for the holiday tournament.
Yeah.
So better make sure official to remind him in his preview. He's got to get those meatball subs ready for us.
We'll make sure to. We'll make sure they're there for you, Coach. Best of luck this season. We'll be seeing you again real soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.